Hey, I'm Alan Furstenberg,
And I'm Mark Tucker. Welcome to Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
It's a week.
It certainly is. Oh, goodness, it's a week.
It's good to chat with you today. Just good way to end the week here.
Yes, it is. And, for me, this has actually been a kind of an action-packed week. Two big uh, projects that I've been working on outside of my day job for months, it seems like.
Yeah,
Both
long time.
long time. Both finally came to a conclusion this week. And I'd actually like to talk about one of them.
You've been doing some work over the years
Yeah,
here on LangChain, and been an update, right?
there has. So, LangChain JS is the JavaScript and TypeScript version of LangChain. And one of the nice features about it is that it tries to be very cross-model. So you can, if you are working with OpenAI's GPT models and you wanted to switch to the Claude models, it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of compatibility that's built in there. And for several years now, I've been supporting the Gemini and Google platform for that, or at least one of them. And that's kind of part of the confusion was there were actually like five packages that supported Google and Gemini. And some of it had to do with, are you using AI Studio? Are you using Vertex? What authorization are you using? Um, are you using it in a node-like environment or a web-like environment? And it was a lot and it was messy.
Yeah.
And when LangChain finally released their version 1, they changed a bunch of things and standardized a bunch of things. And I took the opportunity to start working with them to say, hey, what would a unified package look like? And there were a number of other reasons why we wanted to do this. So the Google Gen AI version of the LangChain library was using a version of Google's libraries that were obsolete, and other versions weren't quite keeping up with the API. So this was a great moment to say, let's create one version that everything could use that now represents the best practice for doing things and does it using the REST API. So we're not dependent on Google changing their library again or
Okay,
whatever.
that makes sense. Cut out the middleman.
Right. We still rely on Google's libraries in some cases. We still rely on Google's libraries for authentication,
Yeah.
for example, but we don't rely on it for the underlying protocol. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. So um, here you can see the npm JS page for the new LangChain Google package, which I am absolutely thrilled about. It's listed as version 0.1.0, at least as of when you and I are speaking, because it's been released now for, well, less than 24 hours. Um, and kind of that's to emphasize the fact that this is new. We do want to make sure that it's compatible. We do want to make sure that we didn't miss something or there isn't a major bug, but that this is the way forward. So
Okay.
we are, as it says, this package will be replacing the old libraries.
So you tackled the issue of um, breaking compatibility by releasing a new package, a new library.
In some ways, and I think this is one of the things I'm relatively proud of, is that this is fairly backwards compatible. I tried really, really hard so that the only thing you really need to do in a lot of cases is just change which library you're using and change the name of the class. And
Okay,
most
that's
of the
good.
rest should just work. Now, we're also alpha, and I kind of want the feedback to see, did we achieve that goal? We will see, but I'm hopeful. And it's just a matter of installing it the same way you'd install any other package. And then if we look at LangChain's documentation, we see that we can instantiate it almost exactly the same sort of way that you instantiate it for any other LangChain integration. It is hopefully simple and hopefully straightforward. And then once you've done that, you invoke it the same way you invoke every other model.
Oh, looks pretty easy.
It really is meant to be as easy as possible. Simple cases are incredibly easy, and more complicated cases get a little bit more complicated, but hopefully not a lot. I've tried really, really hard to make some things as absolutely simple as possible.
As this kind of brought the library up to like most recent feature sets and of the releases of the Google REST API, or are there
Yes,
still
it
some things that
has.
are pending? Okay.
No, there's incredible support for lots and lots of things. So for example, it supports pretty much everything that most of the models support. So it supports tool calling and structured output, and image and audio input and video input, streaming and token usage, and so all of the stuff that lots of ones are supported here. But there's lots and lots of other stuff as well. You can do multimodal requests using images, audio, and video. And one of the great things about LangChain 1 is that this is simplified in a very, very standard way. So you can use their standard, what they call content blocks, and set the content block so you've got a text block and an image block, and the image block contains data in a standard format. So whether you're using it with Gemini or with GPT or with any other that can take these multimodal inputs, they're all done the same way now. What I think, however, is really pretty cool is when we start getting into outputs. So if you want to play with Nano Banana or Nano Banana Pro, you're looking to generate an image output. And there aren't a lot of models that are doing this right now. But LangChain supports a standard way to do it, and this now supports the standard way to get it back. So those content blocks that we saw for the input can also be used for output.
Oh, nice.
So you invoke it with your what you'd like. I'd like to see a drawing of a house with the sun. House with the sun shining overhead, draw it in crayon. And what comes back in the content blocks fields is an array of those content blocks. And we can go through them to look for block types that are of type file and then extract the data from it. So let's get the MIME type. Let's get the extension from that. We'll generate a file name, and then we'll write that file out using standard JavaScript stuff. But if it's text instead, then we'll just log the text. We'll just show you the text.
I can't help but see text to speech there.
Yes. And this is one of the things that I think is really, really cool. And we touched on this a few months ago when they first announced text to speech. And I don't think I had a really good way to illustrate it. I think at the time I illustrated it using a shell script because at that time LangChain was just really complicated to do. But now, if we go look at this output, it's the same kind of structure. We loop over the content blocks. If we've got a file content block type, let's see what that MIME type is. And here we need to do some fiddling because, if it's an audio L16 type, we need to turn it into a WAV file. Otherwise, we've got a file that we can just handle directly, and then we just save it. It's practically the same code as
Yep.
handling the image output.
Yeah, that's good. It's just I like the consistency on the input and the output.
Exactly. The only difference is in this case, we need to do some fiddling because sometimes Google will send it in this audio type that is difficult to deal with.
Yeah,
Um, but the solution is just to turn it into a WAV file. And I gave you the function to turn it into a WAV file.
yeah. Well,
Um,
cool.
and some of, I've simplified some things to handle TTS. So for example, Google requires a fairly complicated data structure to say, we're going to specify the speech configuration, and then we're going to specify the voice configuration, and that voice configuration, here is the name of that voice. Well, this is this big object structure, and I'm just going to say, just give me a string with the name of the voice. That's all I need. If you're doing multi-speaker text-to-speech, just give me the name of the speaker and the name of the voice to use, and then invoke it with a script referencing those speaker names.
Okay.
Simplified as much as possible just to make it so easy to use it. And I tried to follow that in a lot of places, so that everywhere I'm supporting what Google's parameters are. So if you are following a Google guide, you can follow that pretty well. But I also try to simplify things. So for example, reasoning and thinking is a very common thing right now. But Google changed how it works in between Gemini 2.5 and Gemini 3. So if you're using Google's library, you need to keep track of which model you're using and then set the right parameter. Well, I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. You can use the exact same parameter, use it the same way, and I will convert it to a value that makes the most sense. Oh, and since OpenAI uses a different named parameter, I'll support that one too.
Yep.
So it really tries to meet developers where you are in the
Yeah.
easiest possible way, in as standard a way as possible. It can't be completely standard. Not all of this is standardized.
Yep.
But as much as possible, I want to make it so that you can easily move between other models and Gemini and do exactly what you want with Gemini.
All right. Well, that's cool. That's good job on the time that you've spent to get to this point, and and this most recent update.
Now, I'm really excited. And I really hope, that people try this out, take a look at some of this and see how easy some of it really is. That in my mind, I feel like this makes using Nano Banana, for example, so much easier to do. It makes it so that the the image is clear. One of the interesting things about Nano Banana, for example, or Nano Banana Pro, is that it also does reasoning, what Google calls thinking. Do you necessarily want to see that thought process? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. One of the other interesting things about thinking with Nano Banana is it shows you a draft image. Are you interested in that draft image? Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. Um, how do you know that this is the draft image versus the final image? There's a way that we do that. And some of that's kind of pushing the bounds of what LangChain anticipated. It's definitely pushing the bounds of what I think Google's library anticipated. But I think this really puts the power in the developer's hands to do exactly what you want and make it as easy as possible.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
I hope other people are as well. And most importantly, I hope other people go and play with it and try it, kick the tires, figure out what's working and what's not working, and help me identify where those gaps are, where the bugs still remain. Let's get those filled, let's get those fixed. I know there are features that are missing in general. So, for example, this works great with Gemini, but Vertex AI has a model garden that has other models that are available, including Claude and including OpenAI's open source GPT models. So I would like to, address those, make sure those are handled. There are embedding models that aren't yet supported. I'd like to make sure the embedding models are supported. There are a variety of tools that are built into Google, which we're going to talk about another time, that have some support. I'd like to make that support easier and better because I think we can. So, this is a first step. It's certainly not the last step. Um, I have a very strong commitment to this library, uh, and I'm really excited for people to try it out and play with it and work with me to make it even better.
Right. Anything else you want to share about it?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think the big thing again, um, it's an npm at LangChain Google. Give it a try and take a look at the LangChain JS documentation. You can open issues at the LangChain JS GitHub repository. And if you flag me A. Furstenberg, I will probably see them. The link right there is where to report issues. Tag it against the library, and I'd love to see the community working with this and making it even better.
While you're there, go ahead and give it a star.
That would be awesome. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Ellen, very much for sharing. Exciting news on the release. Quick turnaround on the release of this. So good job. And
It was not so quick a turnaround, unfortunately. It like I said, this took quite some time to get all of this done. But I am glad it's done. I learned a lot along the way. I think was the other big thing. And I've said this before about working with open source projects is there's a lot to learn. And for me, one of the biggest things to learn was how to work with others and how to make sure things are ready for the community. Um, and there was a lot to learn. Uh, I hope I learned it. It was quite an experience.
sounds good. So for those out here watching our podcast or listening, would love to hear what your experience is with open source, specifically trying out this new library and just kind of the things that you're doing with AI. So we'll catch you on another episode of Two Voice Devs.
New voice devs. Take care, Mark.
Yep, you too. Thanks, Alan.